Welcome back. In this segment, we are going to talk about understanding your customers and your competition. Two key issues that are of importance for developing your marketing plan and for developing a compelling marketing agenda. But before we delve into this topic, I want you to step back and think about it from the customer's perspective and not the entrepreneur's perspective. Think about your daily purchasing decisions for a minute. You are in an environment where you get constantly bombarded with new information, where you have lots of products to choose from, and sophisticated buyers actually check out online where the cheapest product is available. So what you're dealing with as an entrepreneur are these types of customers that are much more educated than they used to be. They have multiple options. They can buy offline, they can buy online oftentimes. So in that sense, you are dealing with a subject out there that is first of vital importance to your firm's success, but on the other hand also not so easily graspable like it used to be. So in that sense, market research and competitor analysis are of vital importance. Market research should give you the insights on your particular customer, and competitor analysis should give you the insights on what the competition is doing to steal away that customer from you. They have attractive offerings, so you need to beat the competition away. So ultimately, what we're trying to do in this segment is to give you an understanding of which type of information you're going to need to understand your customer solidly in a very thorough way, and which type of information you're going to need to understand your competition and how the competition tries to steal that customer from you. So let's start with looking at your customers from the entrepreneurial marketing perspective. Customer analysis and understanding is important for two main issues. First, for making sales, meaning you have to understand your customers in order to fulfill their needs, in order to convince them to purchase your product. But beyond that, and that is listed on the second bullet point here, the question arises, what do your customers expect from your venture? So understanding customer needs also has a venture dimension, in the sense that the customers will be in touch with your venture, and the customers will, for instance, need warranty, they need to have a salesperson, they need to be in contact with your venture. And all of that actually shapes their impression and shapes their buying behavior. On the other hand, you have an important dimension towards understanding customers. That is, customers should create value for your venture. That's beyond making sales, it's value creation. And in order to understand how customers create value for your venture, there are a couple of questions to ask, and two of the most important ones are listed here. How much value do your customers create for your firm? And how should I invest my limited resources, including your attention, towards different types of customers so that I can actually create value for my venture? So why is it so important that you understand the specific needs of your target customers? First, of course, you want to deliver value to them. So in order to understand what type of functionality they need in a product, you need to understand their needs. Second, you want to create an exceptional customer experience. It's not only an experience where the customer purchases the good, but beyond that, he should feel or she should feel excited buying your product, enjoy using it, because the greater the experience, the more word of mouth they will create. And finally, of course, you want to beat your competition. And by better understanding the needs of your target customers, you will have a better angle towards that that dimension as well. In order to understand your customers, you can engage in a number of activities. I'll provide you with some easy guidelines, a 3-step process that will help you ask the right questions and note the right elements in this process. So the first step would be interacting with your customers and trying on your customer's perspective. It's a vital step. It's a step where you dive deeply into your customer and try to understand, well, how does your customer look at your product service offering? How does she compare between alternative offerings? How often will she purchase your product service? And you also should look at the customer's points of contact with your future business. Do they shop online? Do they shop offline, etc.? As a second step, you can then try also to track the customer's journey. And this is a bit challenging with a new firm because many of the processes that the customers will experience are not yet fully defined. Some of them might exist, some might not exist. But note when, especially when their experience is breaking down, where the experience is strongest. and note also where improvements can be made to that experience. And if you are in the venture design phase still, you can say, okay, what type of cliffs would I experience as a customer when I would engage with my company? And in asking that type of question, you can have also very deep insights at this venture design phase about how to destructure your processes and your relationships and your points of contact with your customers. The third point would then be to say, okay, I've gathered this type of information. I gathered the information from the interviews I did with my customers. And now I try to understand patterns in the behavior of your target customers. So for instance, you could build a database of all your interactions with the customers, all the information you have collected, so that you have a good overview of what you have learned, and then engage in some sort of meta-learning. You can look at patterns in their behavior, consider whether you have segmented the market in the best way possible, and look also for ways to better meet their needs. Overall, this is a learning process. You are engaging in an entrepreneurial venture that is oftentimes launching an innovation, which then means, well, of course I do not know everything in advance, and customer learning is one of the most important learning processes that you will face in your venture creation process. So take this very seriously. In addition, you want to understand how much value your customers are going to provide to your firm. You can analyze your customers based on potential sales and thus understand how much revenue you may get from a given group of customers. And this type of analysis will help you understand two things. First, which customers are worth your efforts and expenses. Not all customers are worthwhile being catered to. And this actually provides you with the second point here. Which customers could be better served with lower cost approaches, for instance. So for instance, with customers that are providing less value to your company, you could say, I engage with those customers only in digital ways, with emails, with website interfaces. And I could visit them less often, less frequently, if you are more in a business that is relying on direct customer contact. Or give them fewer phone calls to remind them of a purchasing decision. So on the one hand, you're trying to understand your customers in order to be able to better cater to them. And on the other hand, you're trying to understand your customers in order to create value for your venture, meaning that you try to understand which type of customers are actually producing that value for you and which types of customers don't. The second key element that I want to discuss with you in this segment is your competition. And there are two big questions that are related to this larger topic. Is number one, who are your competitors in the first place? This is oftentimes not so evident, especially if you are trying to commercialize an innovation. And second, what do you need to know about your competitors? Once you know who they are, what information do you need to gather about them to get a solid and well-rounded understanding of their activities and their potential future activities. So the intended outcomes of this type of analysis are straightforward, I would say. It's like, first trying to understand, what these other firms offer so that you can make your product, services, and marketing stand out. It will allow you to get an understanding of the competitors' pricing, so set your prices competitively. It will help you to draw up and develop marketing campaigns that might be more appealing to your customers than those of the competition. It helps you to assess any threats posed by new entrants to your market and current competitors. And ultimately also helps you to be realistic about how successful you can be with your venture. How much of the market space is already taken up by competition? Where do I have to fight hard to overcome the competition? And this gives you a better understanding also about your future growth potential. So there are a number of key benefits that a thorough competitor analysis will render to your venture. Your analysis of the competition should include your main competitors, and in particular their strengths and weaknesses. So look at their offering, their prices, their distribution channels, their reputations, their marketing messages, their brand and design values, who actually owns the company and what kind of person these people are, their strategies to build customer loyalty, whether they innovate products and processes, their staff count and the caliber of staff that they can attract, their annual report if they are a public company, and their media activities. Do they have a website, and would they engage in local newspaper advertising, radio, television, etc. And the more information you have about your competitors, the better it is, because it provides you with a more solid ground for making your decisions about where your firm is going to compete and how your firm is going to compete against these firms. So oftentimes entrepreneurs come to me and say, well, we do not have competition. We have such an innovative product that does not yet exist in the marketplace. And I have to say, well, in that cases, you haven't done your job thoroughly enough. Try really to understand your customers and your competition, because even if it's an innovation, there are other substitute products out there that are catering to similar functional needs of your customers. There are alternative products and workarounds that might exist. So the saying, well, we do not have any competition, oftentimes is only an indicator that you haven't done your homework well enough. So take this competitor analysis quite strongly and to the heart and try to understand, well, this is an opportunity for me to even learn more about my company and my marketplace. And what is particularly interesting is to also look into your competitors' customer, who they are, how they have segmented the market and what they sell to each segment. Your competitors' strengths and weaknesses as perceived by their customers, whether there are any long-standing customers that they are catering to and which you might not be able to win over immediately to your company unless you have a very, very compelling value proposition. And if they have had an influx of customers recently, because this is an important indicator of whether they have something very attractive to offer to the market. So you can combine this on the one hand with your customer interviews. You can understand very well by talking to customers how they think and what they take into consideration. But you can also look at market reports and other types of reports to make you understand, well, how are these major trends in my market evolving, and is my competition maybe offering something that is highly appealing to customers? Because this is vital information for the shaping of your product and for your marketing campaigns. Ultimately, it comes down to three main insights. First, what can you learn from your competition and do better? Second, what is my competition doing not as well as I'm doing it or plan doing it? And what are they doing equally well than you are? So if you look at all three elements, these elements provide you with points on where to improve, also where you could potentially beat your competition. Especially in the design phase, you could say, well, I design my company in a way and my product in a way that I attack my competitor from their weakest angle. But I'll keep in mind that the customer still needs to value that dimension of what you're trying to beat here. And where you're doing equally well as your competition, you can say, well, can I improve on that experience and maybe make it a differentiator of my business, so that the customers will actually say, this is a great point that your company is offering that I've never seen at any other competing firm, so I'm going to choose your product. So in sum, what we have discussed in this segment is actually, it's pretty straightforward, but it actually means a lot of hard work. But I urge you to do this work, engage in this type of work, because it presents you with the nuts and bolts of firm creation. Oftentimes people say, well, your business plan doesn't master and doesn't survive the first customer contact. But only if you have never spoken with a customer before. You have to understand what your customers want and who your competitors are in order to develop a compelling business plan and business concept. And this is exactly where this part comes in, market research and competitor analysis. So we've looked in this segment at a couple of key steps that you can engage in order to understand your customers very well and in order to understand your competitors very well. Try them out, and I'm going to be curious to understand what you've learned. Good luck.